In this video, we're going to talk about trading like a pro and the winning attitude that you need to have to be successful in this business. So trading like a professional is not all about taking winning trades and taking all of the right trades. A lot of it is understanding how to take a loss. Now, as traders, you need to understand that we have an edge in the markets and that's all we have. So any one trade that we can get into can be a loss and there's absolutely nothing that we can do about it. So if you want to trade like a professional, if you want to be successful in this business, you need to understand that you're going to take losses and you need to accept this because they're just a part of doing business. Now, the way that we like to think of it is that we're paying the market for information. So like any other business out there, you're going to have costs. Okay, and your trading losses are simply just the cost of doing business. They aren't a loss because you've been wrong or anything like that. It's just a cost of you paying the market for some information, and the market gave you back the information, which was ultimately the direction it was going to go in. It didn't happen to be the direction that you wanted it to go in, so therefore you aren't going to make any money on that information. However, if the market does go in the direction that you want, then you get paid back for the information that you just received. Do you see what I mean? So you need to understand that you're going to take losses and you have to really accept this, because no matter how good you are or how good we are, we can't predict the future. We do not have a crystal ball to be able to say with any certainty what the next trade is going to be. All we can do is say that we have an edge and we know that over a large enough sample size full of trades, we're going to come out ahead of the game. But any one trade could be a winner or a loser, and there's nothing that we can do about that. So we understand that a few losses does not mean that our system has stopped working in any way whatsoever. It's just literally the market's doing what it's doing. Yes, we will have a few losses in a row. Will we get more than 2 in a row? Yeah, of course. That's just the way trading is. But if we have an edge and you trade the system and you're disciplined, then a few losses mean absolutely nothing. Because over a larger sample size full of trades, as I just said to you, you will come out ahead of the game. All right, you have to learn to put your loss behind you and move on and look at the next trade as a completely brand new trade, completely unrelated to the last. Because if you start relating your experience of the last trade to the next trade, you start to make stupid mistakes. You start to do things like take a trade that you shouldn't be taking because you want to recoup the money back from the last trade where you lost money, or you might take profits too early because you've just had 2 or 3 losses in a row and now you've got a bit of profit on the table. You don't want to give it back, so you take profits too early. You know, when you start trading with your previous trades in your rear view mirror and you keep an eye on them and you keep sort of like taking that experience into the next trade, you're going to be impacting the way you execute that next trade. For any of you guys that play golf out there, a nice comparison is what you have to do on the golf course. Now, I know that when I play a round of golf, if I make a bad shot or a couple of bad shots in a row, and I start to think about those bad shots that I made, I'm more likely to make more bad shots. Whereas if I just ignore the last shot and take the next shot as a completely new one without relating it to the previous one, I have a better round of golf. And trading is exactly that. You can't take the experience of the last trade into the next trade. You can't start trying to recoup all of your losses from the last few trades in one trade. And that's something that a lot of new traders do. You know, they'll have maybe 3 or 4 losses, and then in one trade, they try to make back all of those 3 or 4 losses in one trade, which has never been part of your system. You've never written it down to say that when I take 4 losses in a row, the next trade must recoup all of the losses that I just took. Because when you do that, again, you're just putting yourself at a disadvantage. You need to learn to take your losses, and you need to learn to not try and recoup them, not revenge trade, all of that kind of good stuff. This is all part of being a professional trader. Okay, so the first point here is to understand to take your losses, to understand that losses are a part of the game and there's nothing that you can do to avoid them whatsoever. The next point is to understand your edge. Now, we've had a module on this already. You need to understand that you have an edge and that's all it is. It's not a silver bullet, okay? It's not a crystal ball. All it is It's an edge that says to you, over a large enough sample size full of trades, I'm going to come out ahead of the game as long as I remain disciplined, as long as I trade the system. If I start to make up my own rules as I go along, then I'm destroying the edge of my system, and hence I'm not going to have the sort of outcome that I could expect if I remain disciplined. You know, you have to understand that the market can only go sideways, up or down. So it can only do one of three things. And the way that we trade in the direction of the trend. So we're actually eliminating one of those market conditions from what we're going to be trading. So we actually have a very good edge there. But we need to make sure that we understand that it is an edge and it's not a crystal ball. You need to start thinking of in terms of probabilities. Okay, think of yourself like you're a casino. So you're interested in what happens over the next 20 trades, the next 30 trades, the next 50 trades. You don't care what happens for the next trade or the next 2 trades. That's not important at all. All right, you want to start to judge yourself on how well you executed the trade and not whether it made any money or not. As soon as you start to judge on whether you make money, that's when you're going to come unstuck, and that's when you're going to start to cost yourself money. All right. You need to judge your trade on the execution part of it and not on whether it made a profit or not. Okay. So think like a professional trader. You need to learn to accept losses and you need to understand your edge. You then need to look at staying out of a trade. You need to understand that actually not being in a trade, not being in a position is a position in its own right. If you decide not to take a trade, you're saying that the market conditions do not make any sense for you to be taking that trade. You know, be fussy about your trades. You don't need to trade every day. All right. Some of our most successful members are those who have really grasped this concept here. Okay, and I've had members who have really struggled in the past, and as soon as we started to talk about this particular concept here of being fussy about the trades, not taking a trade every day, only waiting for the best setups, waiting for the most obvious setups, the setups that everybody else can see, you know, when they start to do that, that's when they start to make money. That's when they start to turn the corner. Okay, so this is a very important one. You don't need to take every trade. Only take the ones that scream out at you, that shout out at you, and you have no choice but to take that trade. You also don't want to be trading based on other people's analysis. If it doesn't make sense to you, don't trade it. Now, I know a lot of you say, well, no, I don't do that. You know, I do have my own analysis, but maybe I listen to what they're saying just to back up my trade ideas. Don't do that. Okay, you're an intelligent person. That's why you're here. That's why you're doing this course. You know, the fact that you've got to this particular module here, which is quite late on in the video course, says something about you as a person. It says that you have dedication and you have discipline. Okay, so you don't need to rely on other people's analysis. You can do your own. It doesn't, if it doesn't make sense to you, don't take the trade at all, because you know what? It's not your account that the other person is trading. They're not going to be there to hold your hand. Right? You need to make the decisions for yourself. And finally, as I said, you only want to look for the most obvious setups. You want to trade the setups that the rest of the market are looking at. You don't want to trade these hidden setups that nobody else can see, because at the end of the day, if no one else can see them, you're not going to have the weight of the market on your side to push your trade in the right direction. So we're only looking for the most obvious setups, the ones that scream out at you and you have no choice but to take that trade. You also want to do the necessary research. Now, I'm not asking you to be a fundamental analyst, not at all. But I'm just saying, you know, browse the financial press. Just take a look on Bloomberg. Get an idea as to what's happening for that particular day. You know, you may not like the fundamentals, but unfortunately, they do have an impact on your trading. So you don't want to be taking a trade at 125 on the first Friday of the month, because as we all know, that's NFP Friday. And if you take it at 125, 5 minutes later, you know, you might get lucky and the market takes you in the right direction. But then again, you may absolutely destroy your account because non-farm payrolls come out and just completely kill your position. So do the necessary research. Read Bloomberg if you can. Just browse the headlines. That's enough. Check the news calendar. See what's coming out that day. Just Start to treat this as a business. Don't just roll up to your screen whenever you feel like at your sort of leisure and hope to make money, because that's not going to do anything for you. What's really going to start to make the difference for you is if you start to treat it like a business, you start to do the necessary research, accept your losses, all of the stuff that we've been talking about in this video and on this course. If you start to do all of that, then you will start to make money and you'll start to turn that corner. And finally, accept that trading really is a business and it has to be treated as such. If you treat this like a hobby, it's going to pay you like a hobby. And what do your hobbies usually pay you? Well, for me anyway, my hobbies cost me money, okay? And some of my hobbies cost me a lot of money. And you know what? If I treated trading as a hobby, it would be my most expensive hobby. And just to give you an indication of what some of my hobbies cost me, you know, I'm a private pilot. You know, I got my pilot's license a good few years ago, and that cost me a lot of money. So to say that trading, if I treated it as a hobby, would be my most expensive hobby is saying something, believe me. Now, going back to treating this like a business, don't just dabble. Don't just jump in and out with any real direction, sort of roll up to your screen just because you're a little bit bored. You know, treat it as a business. Create a trading schedule. Okay, and trade according to your schedule. Don't just roll up when you feel like it, because again, if you do that, then I guarantee you're not doing the right amount of research, you're not doing the right amount of preparation to put you in the right place to be able to make money from the markets. You also want to keep your trading diary and keep your trading records. Now we've got a separate module which we went into about your trading plan and all of that, but it's very important. Make sure that you keep your trading records. Always make sure you have a trading plan and create your business plan. Okay, your whole trading business plan. I won't go into it in too much depth here because we've already talked about it in the previous module. And you know, if you want to go over it again, then please feel free to go back to that module and watch the video there. But I'm just saying to you guys that treat this as a business. If you treat it as a business, then you're going to put yourself in the right position to be able to make money from it. If you don't, then it's going to cost you money. All right. So a very quick recap. Accept your losses. All right. Understand that you don't have to take every trade. There's no one pointing a gun at your head saying to take every trade. You need to do the necessary research. You need to understand your edge, and you need to treat this as a business. If you can do all of that, then you are definitely on the right road. You are on the road to profitability. Okay then people, thank you very much for watching this video. If you have any questions, as always, please feel free to post it below the video. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you all on the next one. Thank you very much for watching and take care now.